From the heart of the Space City to the heart of Gen Z, welcome to Next Gen Conversation. Not Dad's Talk Radio. Ethan talks to you about the issues and events that matter to our generation. This is the Next Gen Report with Ethan Buchanan.
Hey, good Sunday evening, everybody. I hope we're all doing fantastic. What do we got going on today? We got Christian Collins joining us in the third segment. He's the founder of the Texas Youth Summit. He's going to be joining us to talk about the latest in the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination. This weekend, this Thursday, I believe, marked, it was Friday actually, marked 1 month since the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We've got some developments there. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has announced he'll be looking into Discord. It's a voice chat kind of social media platform designed specifically for gamers to be used while playing video games. I'm familiar with it. I've used it. There's probably some stuff there to look into for sure. So Christian Collins will be joining us to talk a little bit about that in the third segment. So stay tuned for that. What else is going on? We got peace in the Middle East. It looks like the Israeli cabinet has signed off on the peace deal that Donald Trump kind of brokered between them and Hamas. It looks like that war is finally coming to a close. Donald Trump, I believe, is actually right now in the Middle East. He left yesterday, and he is going to be doing a bunch of different things. He's going to be basically just kind of coordinating the implementation of that over there for a while, making some addresses. Here he is actually speaking to some folks in the White House, announcing kind of, hey, this is the peace plan. Everybody wants this peace plan. I'm going to be going over there to help coordinate the peace plan. Take a listen.
He wanted it, It's been a long time. He's been fighting a long time. He's been fighting hard. He wanted it. It's a great deal for Israel, but it's a great deal for everybody, for Arabs, for Muslims, for everybody, for the world. And as you know, on Monday, the hostages come back. They're getting them now. They're getting them now. They're in some pretty rough places under earth. They're in some pretty rough places where only a few people know where they are, in some cases. So they're getting them, and they're also getting the bodies, approximately 28 bodies. And some of those bodies are being unearthed right now as we speak. They're working on it right now as we speak. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. No, he was very happy with it. And I can tell you that I saw Israel dancing in the streets, but they were dancing in Qatar and Saudi Arabia and UAE and many, many countries. I saw Egypt. They were dancing. I'll be going to Israel. I'll be speaking at the Knesset, I think, early on. And then I'm also going to Egypt. They were terrific. But all of the countries were great. Indonesia was great. Jordan was great. They were all great. Everybody wants this deal to happen.
And that, I think, is the crux of it. Everybody wants peace, I think. They just have different roads of getting there, and that's where negotiation comes in. That's why Donald Trump was key. Because he said, hey, we want peace, but if you're not going to actually work towards that peace, we will get the peace without you. Wink, wink. You know what that means. We're going to bomb the hell out of you. And hey, apparently that negotiation strategy works. So praise God for that. Praise God for peace. Anyway, we also have this big news. Letitia James has officially been indicted. We had talked about the charges that she's facing a couple of months ago on the show. You can go back and listen to that on the podcast. There are some serious concerns, and apparently enough for a grand jury to say, yeah, we think she did this, let's put her to trial, that she has committed mortgage fraud, which is ironic because that's exactly what she had gone after Donald Trump for, basically. And it now appears that she's done the exact same thing. James was charged with 1 count of bank fraud and 1 count of making false statements to a financial institution after Trump publicly called for his Justice Department appointees to bring charges against her. So this is NBC News right here putting their spin on it. They're trying to make it seem like, oh, this is just Donald Trump targeting her. Donald Trump is he's just trying to get her. You really think that Donald Trump has a grand jury in New York in his pocket? I don't know if you know this. He's not particularly popular in New York. A grand jury isn't going to go indict Letitia James just because Trump asked them to. It's preposterous. But that's Hakeem Jeffries' point. The baseless indictment of New York Attorney General Letitia James is part of Donald Trump's corrupt weaponization of the criminal justice system against anyone who has sought to hold him accountable. All right. You guys started this. You guys did. The left did this. Y'all are the ones that broke the glass roof and indicted Donald Trump multiple times. You throw the kitchen sink at him. And now we start peeling through the records now that, okay, we can go after political opponents because you set that bar. Turns out the Democrats did a lot of things wrong. Attorney General James has courageously been at the forefront of successfully challenging the Trump administration's lawless and deeply unpopular overreach. At times, she has followed the facts, applied the law, and been guided by the Constitution. No, she's been guided by her own political aspirations. We know this. Let's not sit here and pretend she's some noble figure. She campaigned on going after Donald Trump. She won her election, went after Donald Trump, and then we find out she's actually not a saint herself. And because everybody is being held to the same standard here, no one is above the law, she got indicted too. What's really funny to me is CNN is trying to make the case that, this really isn't a big deal. Everybody does mortgage fraud. I'm not kidding. They actually said this. Take a listen to the CNN broadcast where this lady goes, yeah, everybody in America commits mortgage fraud.
Aside for a second, what Tish James, and again, we're still getting the details, but if it's related to this mortgage issue, I mean, this is something that everyone in America, or many people at least, if you're lucky enough to be able to buy a house in America, you deal with this, right? The federal government doesn't go after all of these people for doing this. Does that...
What in the hell does that even mean? I'm not a realtor, but I find it hard to believe that honest to God mortgage fraud, which is what she's accused of, everybody does it, man. It's just one of them things. What, you don't commit a little mortgage fraud on the weekends? Everybody does this. It's preposterous. But that's where we're at with the left now. Mortgage fraud, no big deal. I mean, it was a big enough deal for us to indict the former president of the United States for it, but don't go after the Attorney General of New York. That's preposterous. Whatever, man. All right, hey, stay tuned. We've got a great show coming up for you. We'll be right back after some quick messages from our sponsors. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about California. There's something interesting going on there. They've got a governor's race, a gubernatorial race coming up next year. And so, of course, the campaigning has already begun. They have one candidate in particular running for governor of California that I think is crazy. Like, she's actually crazy. And I'm not talking about just like politically. She's a Democrat, so of course she's politically crazy. But like, I think this woman is actually crazy. She's crazy. I want to give you actually several examples of this. The woman in question is named Katie Porter. She, I believe, was a representative out of California for a while. She's now running to be their governor. She has gotten herself in some hot water because of her performance in this interview. And I don't want to spoil it. Just listen with me for a few minutes to this crazy lady's interview. I don't know who this is with, but just listen to how this reporter conducts herself, because the reporter, I believe, is very professional, versus Katie Porter, who, again, is crazy. Take a listen.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, ma'am?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%. Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're saying.
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
Okay, what kind of a response is that? I don't intend that to be the case. Okay, and if it is, like, sure, that's not your plan. You don't have a plan B? You just figured you'd wing it and just be the governor? You really expect everything to go according to your plan? I mean, just right there, she demonstrates she has no political ability whatsoever, because that's not a strategy. I don't intend that to be the case is not a strategy for anything.
So how do you not intend that to be the case? Are you going to ask them not to run?
No, I'm saying I'm going to build the support. I have the support already in terms of name recognition. And so I'm going to do the very best I can to make sure that we get through this primary in a really strong position. But let me be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say. If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you don't have an experience.
But you just said you don't need those Trump voters.
Well, you asked me if I needed them to win.
So you don't
I
think
feel like this is unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
Okay, how is that unnecessarily argumentative? She's just asking you questions. That's her job. She said, how do you intend to win these 40% of voters that you probably need? I don't think I need them. Okay, whatever. But I could win them if I needed them. Okay, so then is that your plan? So that brings us back to my original question, is how do you intend to win them if you do need them? I don't need them. You're being argumentative. No, she's not. She's doing her job. She's asking questions, trying to figure out what your thought process is. I mean, what the hell? It gets worse. It gets worse.
The question is the same thing I asked everybody, that this is being called the empowering voters to stop Trump's power grab. Every other candidate has answered this question. This is not
Correct. And I said I support it.
So, and the question is, what do you say to the 40% of voters who voted for Trump?
Oh, I'm happy to say that. It's the do you need them to win part that I don't understand. I'm happy to answer the question as you have it written, and I'll answer it.
And we've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Does it seem like she flip-flopped just then? I'm going to win every vote I can. Just a minute ago, you were saying you didn't need those votes. You said you just intended to sail through with the 60% of Californians who were Democrats and call it a day. What the hell is going on here? Am I losing my mind?
Voters. Okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered.
I don't care.
Follow-ups.
I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then...
What in the hell do you think an interview is, lady? That's how interviews work. They ask you a kind of prompting question, an open question, and then once the ball gets rolling, we start digging into the topic. Having conducted a number of interviews myself, and you'll hear one, we're going to sit down with Christian Collins. We'll have an interview. I'm sure I'll ask him questions, and then I'll ask him follow-up questions, because that's how an interview works. This lady is insane. She's completely insane. And somebody pointed this out. Katie Porter had a 65% staff turnover rate, 4 times higher than the average congressional office. She was reportedly accused of abusing and berating staffers until they cried. That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all, because the moment this video came out and people started digging into who the hell this crazy lady was, we found this one. Here she is. She's doing some sort of interview or something, and I guess one of her staffers appears in the background, and she immediately jumps straight to cussing them out. Take a listen to this.
It's dying prematurely to air pollution and other problems, and the state could lose. Get out of my thoughts.
I wanted to tell you that that's actually incorrect. It's not that it's electric vehicles.
So what she had said there was, whatever your name is, and I tried to bleep it out there, so I don't want to expose this staffer or whatever, but whatever your name is, get out of my effing shot. She just barely cropped up in the corner. If you're watching on the YouTube video right now, or if you're listening, go back later on Monday, I guess, and watch the video. She's barely in the corner. And she apparently appeared there with relevant information. But no, Katie Porter's like, F you, get out of my shot. Does this seem like a pleasant woman to work for? No. Does this seem like a stable woman, even a little bit? No. And she probably isn't. Katie Porter verbally abused then husband in explicit tirade, effing idiot and too effing dumb to operate a phone, court documents say. There's also allegations buried in here that she threw like a boiling pot of mashed potatoes on his head and scalded him. Once dumped scalding mashed potatoes on her then husband's head during a fight, according to resurfaced divorce documents. That's via the New York Post. You can go find that whole article. This lady has a history of being bonkers. Hoffman, that's her ex-husband, also filed for a restraining order from his rage-prone spouse, claiming she would routinely call him an effing idiot and effing incompetent. Shattered a glass coffee pot in their kitchen counter in March 2012 when she felt their house wasn't clean enough. Well, that makes perfect sense. This house is too dirty. I'm going to smash this pot and make it dirtier. This lady's crazy. She also may very well be a pedophile sympathizer. This, I thought, was particularly disturbing. Take a listen to what she has to say about the groomers and pedophiles of the world.
The allegation of groomer and pedophile, it is alleging that a person is criminal somehow and engaged in criminal acts merely because of their identity.
Because of their identity? Being a pedophile is not an identity. What the hell is wrong with this lady? And you know what the worst part is? She's the front runner for governor by a mile. She has a 7-point lead over the closest front runner. A 7-point lead. That is a mountain in politics. A 7-point lead, that's it. The election's over. You won. Over the closest front runner. I mean, let's see how long that lead holds up now that all this is coming out. I hope to God for California's sake that her support craters pretty quickly. But it wouldn't surprise me if it doesn't. Because, to be honest, California is kind of crazy. I mean, they've elected Gavin Newsom, and he's no sweetheart either. He's just a little bit more polished than Katie Porter is. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is our political class. This is who we have to lead us. Crazy ladies like Katie Porter. All right, stay tuned. We got Christian Collins coming up in just 1 second. We're going to have a conversation with him about what's going on here in Texas with Discord. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be back with more of the Next Gen Report in just a second. Alrighty, so we've got this announcement from Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton that his office is going to be investigating Discord. Discord is it's primarily a chat feature for video game players, and I've used this myself. I play a lot of video games with my brother and some of our friends, so we use Discord. And I can tell you, there's like all social media, there is some stuff on there that definitely should not be, right? This is a common problem on social media. So to talk about this a little bit, I've brought in, of course, Christian Collins, the founder of the Texas Youth Summit. Christian, thank you for joining me this morning.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Ethan. And it's 1 month since the tragic loss of Charlie Kirk. And I really like that Attorney General Ken Paxton is going after those that really are culprits in allowing this to happen. And I think it's important that we protect free speech while also making sure that these apps are safe and they're not inciting violence by allowing particular bad players to groom these young boys that become assassins.
Yeah, and I think that's really what it comes down to is the fact that, you know, these are children. These are platforms that in many cases, maybe not specifically in Discord's case, we don't know. It's an investigation. We'll see what comes of it. But in many cases on social media, the problems that we're seeing are these companies are kind of sloughing off when it comes to making sure that children aren't being exposed to content that they shouldn't be exposed to. There so often with other social media platforms, we find out there are things that they could have been doing that they just didn't, or they chose not to for whatever reason. I think that's the biggest issue here.
Well, you look, I mean, Tyler Robinson is charged with or indicted with killing Charlie Kirk, and he grew up in a conservative household, and but because of numerous things, perhaps the colleges and universities he went to, he ended up being a leftist Antifa supporting young man that was dating a transgender guy that wrote on the bullet, "Catch fascists," and I have to imagine he was having conversations, and this was very well planned and methodical in how he went about doing this. And this app could very well be the medium which he's able to have those types of communications and talk about how he went about or how he wanted to go about doing this assassination. So he had to have been incited somewhere. He had to have been groomed to become what he was somewhere. And his wicked ideology, of course, had to have festered somewhere. And that's what we need to get to the bottom of. And I know Attorney General Ken Paxton is very much motivated to ensure that justice is served.
Yeah, and there's also the ongoing question of, did he have accomplices? Were there people that were working with him, that were coordinating with him? These are questions that I think are still largely unanswered. And if we can get to the bottom of that, if we can say, okay, here's what he was doing on Discord, here's who some of the people he was connected to, I think those are questions worth asking. And that's not an indictment of anybody that knew the guy or, anybody that may have interacted with him. But these are still questions that we have to have answers to, because there could be other threats out there.
Exactly. And this could be, if these types of platforms, continue to encourage assassins, this could be, one of many that happen, unfortunately. So, we've got to nip this in the bud, and these platforms have to be held liable for allowing terrorist attacks to happen. And so Antifa has been designated a terrorist group by President Trump, and I think we need to be very careful about the types of groups that we allow on to have these types of communications, because we don't want another Charlie Kirk situation. And the left has already proven that they're very violent. You look at the Attorney General running here in Virginia. I'm in Virginia this weekend. His name is Jay Jones, and we looked at his text messages. You might have seen them, Ethan, and he said that he wants the children of conservative opponents to experience this type of death. He wants those parents to know what it's like to lose children because of gunshots, and that's what a horrible thing to say, much less think. So that's what's in the hearts of these leftists, and maybe the Democrats, the politicians themselves, won't commit these types of violent acts, but they're not doing anything to stop it.
Right.
And they're wishing this on their opponents. And, that's the type of political culture that's in their party. And so when you have the radical grassroots groups like Antifa that carry out these heinous acts, the Democrats seem to be, not just, indifferent, but silently applauding it, and encouraging it, because we got access to his thoughts, via that text message. And I feel like many more Democrats feel that way. I mean, you look at across Texas, you had 130 teachers that we know of said something on social media celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Those are the people that are raising our kids, and so that's very problematic for funding our public schools to have those types of nut jobs, in our public school system. And I think there are many more that just aren't dumb enough to say that kind of thing on social media. But they want us dead. They want us dead. They don't like us, and they do not want to coexist with us. And so Charlie Kirk was all of us. He was the best of us. And I think between these platforms, that allow these types of communications to happen, and the ideology that probably came from, it was radicalized because of this platform, but also in the school system, maybe at the university level, maybe at the public school level, somewhere along the way, these parents that, had done everything they could to raise Tyler Robinson right, he was radicalized somewhere. And I think it's important that, we get to the bottom of that and that there are consequences for this.
And you mentioned it just there, the parents, and obviously by no way is any of this their fault. Their son was an adult man who made his own poor decisions. But there's, I think, kind of something that I've noticed among conservative circles is, at least over the last several years, and that's kind of shifting now, but there's been almost a sort of parenting put on autopilot, I think. There's kind of a mindset in some areas where conservative parents will say, okay, well, I'm conservative. I take my kids to church once a week. That should be enough. Now I'm going to send them off to a government school and, whatever. I'm going to put them on the internet with little to no supervision, and we're going to call it a day, and going to church once a week and, encouraging them to vote right. That's going to be enough. And I think what we're learning here is that's just not the case, right? I mean, you have to be active with your kids. You not only have to show them your values, you also have to kind of show them how to respond and how to pick apart and analyze the opposing side as well. Can you talk to me a little bit about that in this last minute and a half here?
Yeah, if you're a parent, I want to encourage your thoughts on this. Just don't just drop them off at school and pick them up and help them with their homework. No, I mean those are things that you probably have to do because you're going to work. But if you can homeschool your kids, if you can afford to homeschool your kids or send them to a private school, I mean in Texas we have vouchers now that will follow the child. You have to enter a lottery system, but it might be best for you to put them in a Christian school or raise them yourself. You're at least giving your kids a better chance that way. They'll have the right worldview, because what could happen is they go off to school. You have, a public school teacher who's encouraging Bobby to be a Susie. And, you have platforms that they're introduced to, like Discord, where they become, radical leftist, cynical people, lazy people who don't want to work and who are angry at other people for what they have, and they're, cynical about what they don't have, and they blame the world, they blame conservatives for all the ills in the world, and and they become violent extremists like this. And so I say all that to say that you need to be involved in your kids' lives more than that. You need to have dinner around the dinner table if you can, and to have conversations with your children. You need to be aware of what's going on with their devices. There may be a certain age that they should be allowed to have devices. You have to talk about that with your family, but they don't need devices too early, and they need to be limited in what they're able and exposed to, what they're able to look at. I mean, there needs to be guardrails and barriers, and you need to be cognizant of what they're being taught and what is on their devices. And I think it's a lot of parents that, are just tired after work, and it's easy for them to check out and just, hand their child a YouTube, channel on their iPad or whatever and let them watch whatever shows, but you need to be having intentional conversations, from the early onset. And 4 or 5 years old, you need to ask them, what did you learn at school today?
Yeah.
It needs to start there and continue on through every grade level and take control of what your kids are learning.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, hey, Christian, thank you very much for taking the time to join us and talk about this. I really appreciate it. And hey, have a wonderful time in Virginia. It is a beautiful state. Hopefully soon to have a fantastic governor and attorney general as well.
Yes. Well, I pray Jay Jones never wins any office ever again. That guy is horrible for what he said. So, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be on. I appreciate everything you do, Ethan.
So this shutdown, at this point, do we really need the federal government? Like, let's be honest. We're coming up on 2 weeks in of straight shutdown, and I'm chilling. I know we're not paying our military, though. I had a conversation with one of my old buddies who ended up enlisting. He's in the military right now. He's an active service member, and he's like, yeah, we're not getting paid. They aren't paying us. It's tough for him. It really is, because he doesn't have another option. You basically just have to get loans and credit cards to tide you over to the end of the shutdown. But I mean, if you've got really bad credit already, which I'm sure is fairly common in the military, then what do? You're completely out of luck. So yeah, I feel for them. I feel for our service members who are getting paid. So where exactly are we at? We're now, I think, 11 days in, technically. Democrats and Republicans remain locked in a stalemate over how to reopen the government, with the Senate rejecting motions to advance competing bills for the 7th time on Thursday. The House-passed Republican bill failed to move forward in a 54-45 vote. 3 Democrats crossed the aisle, a number that has been unchanged since the shutdown began last week. Now, again, I want to make sure everybody is completely aware of how this works. The obstacle is the Senate filibuster. You need 60 votes in the Senate to pass a bill. The Republicans do not have 60 votes. They don't. So whenever you hear the powers that be on the Democrat side of the aisle go, wait a minute, the Republicans control the White House, the House, and the Senate. Why hasn't it passed? Why isn't it? It's the Republicans' fault. How are we stopping it? You guys have the majority. It's very dishonest, intentionally, because everybody that's saying that knows how the filibuster works. They know that the Senate has the filibuster rule. They know they need 60 votes in the Senate. They're pretending they don't because they expect you to not. So, you now have no excuse. You are aware now because I have told you there's a 60 vote threshold that the House GOP on their own can't clear. Now, this should be relatively easy to clear that threshold, though, because it's literally just a continuing resolution that they're trying to pass. This House bill that they're hardlining on literally just says this stuff we already agreed to 6 months ago. We're just going to keep doing that for a few more weeks while we continue to negotiate. That's it. That's all it does. That's all the Republicans want. Just keep going the same way we were for 6 more weeks. That was the Republican ask. The Democrats said, no, we want to add $1 trillion. And the answer to that should obviously be no. That's not how you negotiate. It's just not. But the Democrats refuse to back down on this. I don't understand why. This is going to hurt them. Here's why it's going to hurt them. Chuck Schumer said the quiet part out loud. From Punchbowl News. We interviewed Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer on Wednesday in his Capitol office where the New York Democrat was bullish as he's ever been about his shutdown strategy. He said, every day gets better for us. They view this as a political win. They're confident that they can pin this shutdown on the Republicans. They intentionally shut down the government so that they can blame the Republicans for it and then run against it. That's what they're doing here. People like my buddy in the Army who aren't getting paid, that's just casualties. It's worth it. Whatever. Anything in service of the political win here. That's their strategy. Every Democrat should be asked if they agree with Schumer. And that's exactly right. Ask every single Democrat, hey, are you happy about this? Are you happy that our service members aren't being paid? Are you happy that the government is shut down right now? All of them will say yes. I guarantee you. Or they won't answer the question. But the question is being asked. Somebody asked it of Hakeem Jeffries. He's the House Minority Leader. He said, hey, Chuck Schumer said this thing that's kind of gross. He goes out here and he says, oh, we're completely happy about the government being shut down and our service members not being paid. How do you feel about this? And Hakeem Jeffries says, I'm completely aligned with Chuck Schumer. Take a listen.
Yesterday, Leader Schumer indicated that the longer this goes on, this is better for the Democrats. Do you believe, as Republicans suggest, that that's a calloused remark, that this is kind of a scorekeeping going on here?
House and Senate Democrats have been completely aligned.
Yesterday, Leader
completely aligned. Completely aligned. Again, I cannot stress this enough. This could end at any given moment. All the Democrats have to do is say, fine, we'll pass this continuing resolution while we keep negotiating for the main spending bill. This isn't even the main spending bill that they're fighting over. Do you understand that? This isn't even the main issue. This is supposed to be just a sideshow. This is supposed to be a procedural thing. And they've made this the hill they're going to die on. I will never understand this strategy. The Republicans are now saying, hey, since we're shutting down the government, we can't pay all these federal workers that we really don't need anyway. Remember, the federal government is a cesspit of waste, fraud, and abuse. That's been made very clear. Since the government's shut down, for whatever reason, I don't understand the science behind it. This allows Trump to just go in and fire a lot more people than he normally could. Apparently, there's procedures that when the government is shut down do not apply here. And so Russ Vought, he is the Office of Management and Budget, I believe, OMB director. And he says, hey, we're just going to start firing people because they're not doing anything anyway. We want to fire these people anyway because they're a waste of American taxpayer dollars. The federal government is way bigger than it needs to be, and it's costing us way too much money. So we're firing folks. Take a listen to Trump making that announcement that we've actually begun the process of permanently laying off these federal workers.
How many layoffs have you authorized for this first round, and from which agencies?
And it will be Democrat-oriented because we figure, they started this thing, so they should be Democrat-oriented. It'll be a lot, and we'll announce the numbers over the next couple of days, but it'll be a lot of people, all because of the Democrats. I mean, they want to give $1.5 trillion to people that came into the country illegally. More important than that, because we all have a big heart. We want people to be taken care of, but we have 0 people coming in. You know that, Glenn, right? That's a pretty impressive number, even for a successful governor. But we've had for the last 4 months 0 people coming in illegally. They're coming in, but they're coming in legally. They're coming in through a process that's really a really good process right now, because we want people to come in, but they have to come in legally. So what we're doing is, as these different groups come due, we're going to make a determination. Do we want them or not? And I must tell you, a lot of them happen to be Democrat-oriented. These are people that the Democrats wanted that in many cases were not appropriate. We fought them at the time, and it was ultimately signed in. And some of these people, these are largely people that the Democrats want.
So here's how I think this is going to end up. Trump is going to fire all these federal workers, who, by the way, are all mostly Democrats. There's data behind all of that. We know that federal employees, on average, about 90% donate exclusively to the Democrats politically. So what happens when all of your voters, Democrats, lose their jobs because of you? You think that's just going to go over without any opposition at all. And plus, save the taxpayer money. So this is going to end up being a massive loss for the Democrats. They just haven't realized it yet. I don't know how they've managed to miss it. It's a stupid hill to die on, and it shows you they have nothing going on. They have no leadership. They have no one to coordinate and say, yes, these are the hills we need to die on, and these are not. If they did, they would not be doing this. But anyway, that is all I have got for you this weekend. Thank you very much for listening. Be sure to tune in to the Wednesday show, the Next Gen Report, wherever you get your podcasts. It'll be on YouTube as well. And of course, X, @ Ethan Buchanan. Give me a follow there. I would love to hear from you there. You can reach out to me, send me a message, send me an email, thenextgenreport@gmail.com. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. We'll send you next Sunday at 7 p.m. on AM 950 KPRC.